Hey guys, it's Anissa. Today I wanted to share with you guys my experience working as a server at Applebee's. I worked there for about 2.5 years. I started off as a hostess and then I worked my way up to becoming a server. In case you're interested in becoming a server at any other restaurant, I hope this helps. If you're interested, just keep watching. So when I started as a hostess at Applebee's, this was in 2013, I felt like the thing that was the most difficult for me was memorizing all of the table numbers. So for those of you who have never worked in a restaurant before, every single table that you see in the restaurant, they all have a dedicated number to them. And this helps us servers and people who are running food to the table to be able to tell, okay, we're taking this table, this food. So learning the restaurant's floor map with the dedicated table numbers, that was literally something that I felt I was never going to memorize. The good thing is at both, because I worked at 2 different Applebee's locations, so I'm hoping that all are pretty much the same. They had this map right on top of the door that you're about to exit the kitchen, and it would show all the table numbers right there. So in case you happen to forget or you're kind of doubting where exactly it is, that pretty much was honestly the thing that gave me the most difficulty. Other than that, as a hostess, you also have to bus tables so that it can be clean for the next guests that walk in to be seated again. At Applebee's, as a hostess, they have a rotation system, and the rotation system is pretty much a system they have in place so that every server that's working that day gets tables equally. Instead of one specific server getting 7 tables and another server having 2 tables and another having only 4 at the same time, they want it to be spread out so that each server has about the same amount of tables, and it's fair for everybody. That way not one person is leaving with more tips than another person. That isn't too hard to memorize because they had at the host stand a paper where we would fill in what server we last sat and what server is next to be sat. So that wasn't too difficult to stay in rotation. What's hard is when guests walk in and they happen to say, you know what, I don't want to sit where you're taking me. Those moments, of course we have to say, yeah, we'll take you there, that's okay. But it would mess up that rotation, as I was saying earlier, that server may end up getting a few extra tables than another. One thing is, as working as a hostess, pretty much working anywhere in the restaurant, honestly, you have to be really good at multitasking. So for example, as a hostess, there's always going to be people walking in, so you have to keep up with the rotation system that I was telling you guys about. Keep an eye on that, and at the same time you also have to keep an eye on which tables are leaving and done eating so that you can bust that table, make sure it's clean so that that table can be ready to be sat again, and take dishes to the back of the kitchen while also constantly keeping an eye on the front door to see if new people are walking in. You're constantly multitasking. So after working there for about 3 months, I was lucky to have the opportunity to be promoted as a server because the managers at the time were really in need of servers. Normally at Applebee's, you're supposed to be promoted from a hostess to the car side, which is like a takeout server, and then promoted to a regular server. When I first got into training to becoming a server, when they showed me the menu and showed me that I needed to memorize all the ingredients in every single plate that they offered, all I can remember thinking was, wow, I thought memorizing the table numbers was overwhelming. This is even more overwhelming. I have a menu here with me. It's the wood-fired grilled menu. This actually got released my last year that I was working with Applebee's, which was in 2016. And it's right here. So it's not a big menu, it's actually really small menu compared to where I'm working now. I'm now at BJ's, which I'll be talking about this in another video so you guys see how the menu is definitely bigger than the Applebee's one. So I had to memorize the lunch combinations that they had, pretty much every drink that they had, all of their plates, appetizers, when we had specials. Studying the menu helped me to be able to kind of pass the test questions that the managers asked to see if I was ready to become a server. But I feel like what helped me the most was just time, just practicing bringing in these orders for customers, practicing seeing the plates and having people constantly ask you, what's in this dish. By repetition, that really helped it stick. So Applebee's was definitely the first place where I became a server. I didn't have any prior serving experience, but if you start off as a hostess there, they do allow you to work your way up and then gain that experience eventually. So after learning the menu, something that was really tricky was learning their POS system. POS is pretty much, it stands for point of sale, and it's the computer that each restaurant uses, and every restaurant, their POS is a little different. I really loved how their POS was laid out because it was easy to find things, I'm saying after you get the hang of it, because for example you'll see a button that says burgers, and all the burgers that are on the menu will be in that area, as well as appetizers, beverages, desserts, sandwiches, pastas. There's even one if you want to get to just look at like entrees depending on the protein that's in it. So you'll be able to click on chicken and you'll see chicken sandwiches, chicken salads, chicken pastas all together in that one specific area also. Now this is something that I've noticed with all restaurants, but since I'm talking about Applebee's, this is the first place that I had experience with this. One thing that I'm hoping that restaurants will change this very soon, because I feel like it's something that's very important, is the fact that we don't have any breaks. Not even one 5-minute break, not one 10-minute break, definitely not a 30-minute lunch break. They do tell you, you have a 10-minute break upon request, but in reality, once you ask for it and the time comes, there's always, at least I was always given an excuse like, oh, just it's really busy right now, so just wait until it slows down a little. Then when it slows down, you try to ask for one and they'll still say no, which is not good, because I feel that everyone deserves at least one 10-minute break. And that's something that I can say that I really, really dislike, because you're constantly moving, you're constantly doing something. Sometimes we all just need at least 10 minutes. So my worst experience working there, I have a few, because honestly there were customers who, in this world, but you'll see this anywhere, not just at Applebee's. Any place that you work with customer service, there's always going to be really, really mean, rude people. But for my worst experience there was when I almost dropped, I dropped the hot skillet, but thank God it did not burn the customer. And I'm going to show you guys what it looked like. So we had this plate there, and it's called the bourbon chicken and shrimp, and it's pretty much a grilled chicken breast, and it comes out on a sizzling hot skillet. There's a picture right here of that. I remember that I was taking this bourbon chicken skillet out to one of my guests, and he happened to be sitting with his wife in one of our booths that was a 2-seater booth. So if you can imagine, like a small booth. I don't know how it happened, but as I was setting the skillet down in front of him, the skillet slid off of the little wood part that the skillet is on. The skillet just came right off of that, and luckily that guy had really fast reflexes. All I can see him doing at the same time that it's dropping was he jumped right up and scooted over, and the skillet just landed on the booth seat. One of my best experiences there was when I had a party sitting in my section. It was a party of 10. I still remember them. They're so nice. They were foreigners. I think they had told me that they were visiting over from Japan, and they were staying at a hotel that was right across the street from the restaurant location where I was at. And they all came in to have drinks, have fun, experience an American restaurant pretty much. And it was the easiest order I ever had to take because none of them needed to modify any of their plates, so I was able to take their order super fast. They were just pointing out pictures that they seen on the menu, and they're like, I want this, I want that. Same with the drinks, they would just point it out to me. It was super fast. They were super easygoing. And I don't remember exactly how much their check came out to, but I ended up making $75 on that tip, and it was just one person paying. It was easy. I didn't have to split up the check. My advice to anybody who's thinking of becoming a server and they've never worked as a server before, I honestly feel like it's a great job. I like it in the fact that you always have money, cash to be able to leave home with on the same day, instead of waiting 2 weeks for your paycheck and always having to make that paycheck stretch. So that's definitely something that's positive. And if you are a person who can kind of not let those rude, because you won't get it all the time, but you will get it at least once a day, if I'm being honest, customers who are mean or rude. But if you're a person who doesn't let that affect you and you're always in a positive mood and you don't let others kind of affect your mood or change your mood, then it would work well. If you're a person who lets other people kind of affect your mood, like if you have someone who's just having a bad day and it makes you end up feeling really negative and it ruins your day, I really wouldn't recommend it, because it does tend to happen. And if you're someone who doesn't mind multitasking constantly, that's something that servers do on a daily basis, because you'll always have your full section of tables, and one may be ready to leave and they're waiting to pay, while another one's ready to order dessert, and another table just sat down, so they're waiting for you to go and greet them and get them some drinks, and another table who's waiting for you to take their order, and it can all be happening all at the same time. But definitely just by practicing every single day. So my advice for anyone who is interested in becoming a server is that the moment you start, it's always going to feel a little overwhelming, getting familiar with kind of the atmosphere, getting familiar with all the table numbers, and getting familiar with all of the food that they serve, including all the ingredients that are in each dish. It's going to feel overwhelming at first, but as time passes, I'd say after your first 2 weeks or at least a month, that you'll definitely feel a little more comfortable. For example, I was serving at Applebee's for 2.5 years, and when I had transitioned over to where I'm at now, which is the BJ's Brewhouse restaurant, even though I had that experience, it still felt overwhelming, just because I was in an entire new atmosphere with a whole different restaurant floor plan and an entire new menu that was just completely different from where I was at. So I still felt overwhelming, but after the first 2 weeks, I was able to kind of pick up the rhythm. So that was my experience working for Applebee's. Please take my experience and my opinions with a grain of salt, because your experience can be different. It may not be exactly the same as mine. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you liked it. If you did, please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed already, please feel free to do so. And thank you guys so much.